Week 12 recap, Week 13 preview. We got power rankings, we got playoff pictures. We got a lot. So, a lot of huge matchups for rivalry week. Just what we want to see. Be very interesting and entertaining Thanksgiving um, week of football. So let's go through. We'll start with our matchup to watch, which was Hurley and Chuck's year versus Drew Underdog Big Dog Story. This was big for playoff implications, and it did not disappoint. High scoring affair, 148 to 135. Hurley and Chuck's year takes this one. Hurley and Chuck's year, they've been complaining about some bad luck recently, but they get some good luck with the Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, miracle touchdown late in last game. It was like a 20-point play for them, and they win this one by 13. Text from Hurley and Chuck's year. Make sure to call out in the video that Hurley and Chuck ended the Big Dogs after championship revenge from 2 years ago. Put 140 on them twice. Good night. So yeah, that's Hurley and Chuck's year's message to a true under Big Dog story. Hurley and Chuck's year improved to 6-6. True under Big Dog story 5-7. Next up, we have Big Balls versus Cambodians. Big Balls 119, Cambodians 114. Big Balls 6-6, Cambodians 9-3. Cambodians still holding on to that bye, but they have the Swamp Dicks breathing down their necks. Speaking of Swamp Dicks, another King of the Week. These guys they're just rolling over. They're rolling over teams. 176 to 98. Fear the Choge drops to 3-9. Swamp Dicks 8-4. Not even with their 4 horsemen. 2 of their 4 horsemen down, but they have 2 others who step in. Tua and Jordan Addison fill the void. Pretty much 3 30-point performances from the Swamp Dicks again. These guys just are full of home run hitters, it appears. So they improved to 8-4. Next one, Goblins versus Capone's V card. Goblins 103, Capone's V card 110. We've talked about the Goblins. We talked about their struggles in this league, the history of their struggles, and they have clinched a playoff spot, so they are in. But you'll see when we go through the power rankings. The Goblins might be doing what the Goblins do, and they might be just fading towards the end. They might be running out of gas. We'll see. We'll see what management can do, what management can change. But in my opinion, things are looking bleak for the Goblins. Next one, very, very close matchup. The Dog Pound versus the Tasty Boys Club. The Tasty Boys Club takes this one 124 to 122. Huge win for the Tasty Boys Club. And big loss for the Dog Pound. Dog Pound 6-6. With that win, they would have been in very, very good position to make the playoffs. But now, a little bit iffy. They still need another win, possibly 2. Tasty Boys Club now is in the 11th spot. They've pushed Fear the Choge back into the cold plunge with 2 weeks to go. So, big one from the Tasty Boys Club. Massive win, actually. And they improved to 3-9. Dog pound 6-6. Next up, Catalina Wine Mixins versus Elmwood Lawyer. Elmwood Lawyer 130, Catalina Wine Mixins 76. Big win for Elmwood Lawyer to keep their playoff hopes alive, and tough loss for Catalina Wine Mixins as they're trying to clinch a spot. 6-6 with 2 weeks left. They're going to need a win. So speaking of the playoffs, very, very tight race. We have 3 teams that are locked in. We have the Caponi's V card at 7-5, who is not locked in. They one more win and they're locked in, and most likely if they put up points, even if they lose the next 2 weeks, but they put up points, they'll be in. Then we have 4 6-6 teams. It's crazy. Hurley and Chuckshire, Catalina Wine Mixins, Dog Pound, and Big Balls. Big Balls is on the outside looking in. And then below that, we have Elmwood Lawyer and True Under Big Dog Story at 5-7. There's a very good chance, maybe not very good, well, there's a very good chance a 7-7 team misses out. There's a less than 50% chance, but still not terrible odds that 2 7-7 teams will be left out of the playoffs. We've never seen that before. But I don't think that will happen. I'd be shocked if there is. I'd be shocked if there's a 7-7 team. I'd be shocked if all 7-7 teams make the playoffs. But we will see. So let's do, before we do power rankings, let's do our rivalry week preview. And we have 4 of the 6 matchups I think are matchups to watch. They're all honestly every single game here is big in some way or another. Every single one. You have Caponi's V card versus Big Balls. Caponi's V card gets a win, they're in. And Big Balls takes a loss, they're most likely out. On the other side of the spectrum, Big Balls gets a win and Caponi's V card gets a loss. They're both sitting. Neither one of them are in, but both of them are sitting a lot better. Next up, Tasty Boys Club and the Cambodian Coxmen. So this is big for the opposite ends of the spectrum for each team. Cambodians need a win to hold on to that bye, and the Tasty Boys Club need a win to hold on to not being in the ice bath. Hurley and Chuckshire versus Fear the Choj. This is a huge. I think that this is the main matchup to watch. Like I said, every single game is important this week. But I think if we're gonna circle one, this is it. I don't have to stress like the rivalry here. We've had chirping between these two teams for years, and this year is no different to even start the season. Before week 1 even happened, we had chirping. So, and now it comes down to rivalry week. We have $20 on the line, and we have Hurley and Chuckshire, who needs one more win to lock in a playoff spot. And Fear the Choj needs a win to avoid the ice bath. With a win from Fear the Choj, their ice bath chances go up significantly. That results in a loss for Hurley and Chuckshire, dropping to 6-7, making week 14 a must win for Hurley and Chuckshire, something they do not want to have to deal with. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Hurley and Chuckshire gets a win, locked in for the playoffs. Fear and Choge gets a loss. They're looking at the cold plunge unless they can get a win in the final week, and Tasty Boys Club lose this week and next week. So it's a huge matchup. Big implications for both teams. Next up, I'm with Lawyer and True under Big Dog Story. This one's big because both teams' chances of playoffs aren't high, but they are not dead by any means. However, loser of this matchup is officially done. So big matchup there. Winner, playoff odds probably go up to about 50%. Loser is done. So big matchup there. Goblins versus Swamp Dicks, another big one for bye implications. Winner of this will improve to 9-4, and if Cambodians drop a game, I know the Swamp Dicks would pass them with tiebreaker, and it looks like the Goblins most likely would as well. So if the Cambodians drop one this week, the winner of the Goblins versus Swamp Dicks will move into that bye spot. Next up, Dog Pound versus Catalina Wine Mixins. Big matchup. 6-6 versus 6-6. Winner, almost undoubtedly into the playoffs. Loser, week 14 becomes a must win. So yeah, these matchups couldn't have asked for better, honestly, during our rivalry week. It'll be interesting how these all shake out, but every single one of these matchups has a big impact on playoffs, bye, or cold plunge. All right, let's move on to power rankings. This year, I've said before, this year is crazy how close these teams are. I like I said, like I usually say, it's best to go off the tiers because these are really hard to separate. But in the 1 spot, we have the Swamp Dicks, 2 spot Hurling Chucks here, 3 spot Cambodians, 4 spot Wine Mixins, 5 spot V Card, 6 spot Big Ball, 7 spot Elmwood Lawyer, 8 spot Dog Pound, 9 spot Fear the Show, 10 spot Under Big Dog Story, 11 spot The Goblins, and in the last spot, Tasty Boys Club. Tier 1 is the Swamp Dicks and Hurley and Chuck Shear. Tier 2, Cambodians, Mixins, V-Card, Big Balls, Elmwood Lawyer, and Dog Pound. Tier 3, Fear the Choge, Under Big Dog Story, Goblins. And then Tier 4 is Tasty Boys Club. I know it sounds rough on the Goblins to put them so far down. But I mean, if you just look at other teams, this team's lacking. They have I don't know. They just don't have any. Like Malik Neighbors, he has no quarterback. Jameson Williams has been boomer bust. Jamar Chase is solid. James Cook has been solid, but like nobody's really fearing James Cook. Jalen Hurts been solid, but then they have Noah Brown as a starter, or Elijah Moore. I mean, Mark Andrews is touchdown or bust. I don't know. J.K. Dobbins, like you never know with it. I don't know. This team doesn't scare me. Is what I'm trying to say, I guess. So I don't know. If you look at the other teams, you might see what I'm talking about. Every team is pretty good, but yeah, I don't know. It's tough. So yeah, we'll see if the Goblins can prove me wrong. History tells me they won't, but Who knows? This might be the Goblins' year. All right. We'll be back for next week. Next week's recap will be we'll paint a picture of what the playoffs is looking like. We'll be going through the scenarios next week for playoffs and bye and cold plunge. What needs to happen for each to happen, etc. So no, we did not add any new clinchers for the playoffs. Still, those final four spots are up for grabs, and it looks like there are 6 teams. 7 teams. They're still jostling for those final four spots. So good luck to everybody in week 13. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll be back next week.